Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. I am Brad. Today we are doing a Metro Division preview and prediction. We just did the Atlantic, so if you haven't checked that video out, check that out now. Hit like, subscribe. All the YouTube, the podcast thing. They talk about 5-star ratings and all that jazz. Like you know the drill. So if you can, it'd be great. I really appreciate it. And if not, bummer. But I'm glad you're tuning anyways. It helps out. Helps the algorithm and yeah, I'm just grateful. I'm gonna have fun with this, right? So if you're interested in the Metro Division or NHL at all, stay tuned because we're gonna hit these things. So I am going alphabetical order. I'm gonna let you know, and just how these are in lineup. We're going alphabetical. I'll kind of give you a review, and we're gonna talk about some of the transitions and my thoughts on these things. So let's just jump right into it. So of course, alphabetical starts with the Carolina Hurricanes. So what was some of the things they did, right? Because you have to look at. We have to kind of go back on. I like to start with. No joke, I like to go all the way back to the trade deadline of last year because sometimes you have teams that trade for guys and they end up sticking around, which is great. Problem is, not every guy sticks around, right? And for Carolina, this is one that absolutely they had an issue with guy not sticking around. I don't know if you heard him. His name's Mikko Rantanen. That one did not end up working out, which is a bummer. Mind you, I think that was a great trade. I think that they are so smart with them. They trade for Mikko Rantanen. It doesn't work out, right? So they kind of screws up their regular season a little bit. And because they had the tumultuousness of trying to get him acclimated and wanting to get him signed, and they trade for him in January. And then it's January. So trade for him in January doesn't work out. So they traded by March, like start of March. So again, I thought it was a great trade. They also picked up Taylor Hall in this trade as well. Ended up signing him to a good deal. Let's see, it was a 3-year deal at $3.1 million. And so good that you picked up a good Taylor Hall. Again, you end up trading, which is so crazy, by the way. You trade like Marty Necas, Jack Drury, a second and a fourth for Mikko Rantanen and some parts, right? And then you take Mikko Rantanen, trade him to the Dallas Stars. So you take him from the Central Division where the Colorado Avalanche are, bring him to the Eastern side. So Colorado's like, hey, now we don't have to deal with Mikko 4 times a year, and then you trade him back to Dallas, who is in the Central Division. So you screw the Colorado Avalanche, who could have just signed him in the first place. And we'll talk about Central Division. But again, Carolina is so smart. They get 2 first-round picks out of this, and 2 third-round picks, and Logan Stankoven, who they signed to an 8-year deal at. It hasn't even started yet. I'm looking at his page right now. He hasn't even started his 8-year deal yet, but he can. It will be after this year. So it's 8 years at $6 million a piece. Again, this team is so smart with their cap and everything. I think they do a great job. And so that was so smart of them. Again, they got so many. They got a actual roster player that you signed for 8 years that wants to stick around, plus 2 first-round picks and 2 third-round picks. Phenomenal, honestly. And then they messed around and tried to find out, but they didn't survive against Florida, which is kind of a bummer. But again, they worked really hard on that. So they ended up trading for Caden Primo, a 7th-round pick to the Canadians. To try and solve their goaltending issues as well. This is back in June, and they ended up waiving him yesterday, and then Toronto picked him up because they need it because Joseph Wool is out. So they also threatened to offer sheet Keandre Miller with the Rangers, but instead they're like, hey, Rangers like, okay, let's find a way to get this going. Instead, so they end up trading Scott Morrow, a 1st and a 2nd-round pick for Keandre Miller. So, and who is Keandre Miller? Just to give you an idea of who he was. He had to play with the Rangers, originally a 1st-round draft pick in 2018. If you look at some of his point totals, he's not a huge point getter, but he does pretty well for himself. So, like looking at last year, 27 points, 74 games. His career high is 43 points in 79 games. So, over a half point per game player. So, you're looking at a guy who can really produce in this case. And mind you, they signed him to an 8-year deal at $7.5 million, which is not bad for a 25-year-old D who plays, second pair on your second pair. So good trade, especially I love that they threatened an offer sheet. Like, hey, we'll offer sheet, man. We will take you. We will offer sheet you. So I always like that balls. Another one who they ended up getting was Nikolai Ehlers, who went to free agency. They signed him to a 6-year deal at $8.5 million. He had 63 points, 69 games last year with the Winnipeg Jets. And one thing that they talk about with him is he was not utilized properly. He was not getting the top line minutes. And now with the Carolina Hurricanes, he's absolutely going to get those top line minutes. And now you push Andrei Svechnikov down to a second line center. So my Ehlers is basically you're taking over that Mikko Rantanen spot. because Mikko Rantanen is playing the top line. Is Nikolai Ehlers Mikko Rantanen? Absolutely not. But again, for a guy that you get for free, because mind you, free agency, you get them for free. You don't have to trade assets for him. That's a good pickup. Plus, they have all these assets. They have the extra 2 first-round picks from Dallas that they can use at the trade deadline. I think this team's going to be really good. Of course, Jarvis is starting to break out. He's only 23 right now. He'll be 24 this year, 67 points in 73 games. Awesome. And the thing is, the nice thing about the Carolina Hurricanes is you have depth throughout the whole lineup that a lot of people can score, right? Even on your third line, you're getting 36 points from both Martin Hook and Jordan Staal, and they played 79 and 75 games. Like those, that's phenomenal. Again, and on your fourth line, you have Taylor Hall, 42 points in 77 games. And Eric Robinson, 32 points in 82 games. Like you're getting depth, you're getting rolling 4 lines, which is so important for these guys. And the Carolina Hurricanes, you're not having like one guy just scoring a ton, especially now how, of course, puts up good points, 74 points in 79 games. But you're constantly rolling out lines who can score and defend. And that is the Carolina Hurricanes model. You don't have a superstar, but you have guys that are just consistent and they're good players. So love to see that. Again, picking up K'Andre Miller. They also had Shane Gostisbehere, 45 points in 70 games. You also had Jacob Slavin, the best defensive defenseman in the league, and Sean Walker as well. Sean Walker definitely, I always thought was more of an offensive producer. He only had 16 points in 82 games, but that is what it is. But I think what you're going to see is K'Andre Miller and Shane Gostisbehere take over those like power play 1 and power play 2s, potentially with Alexander Nikishin, who is a rookie. He'll be a rookie this year. He's 24 years old, playing mostly in the KHL with the SKA St. Petersburg. He had 46 points in 61 games. And in the KHL, like if you're a point per game player in the KHL, you are God tier. This guy had 3 points every 4 games, so he's producing very well. I think that's going to transfer so well, especially as a defenseman. He's one of the highest scoring defensemen in the KHL at the time. So again, I think that this guy can absolutely break out, potentially take that spot from Shane Gostisbehere. And I'd be really curious because, again, Nikishin is 24 years old. Gostisbehere will be 33 this year. So you need a youth guy that's going to be able to take over those spots. I'm really curious. Let me know what your thoughts are. The biggest weakness is still for the Carolina Hurricanes is goaltending. When you have Freddie Anderson, he can play really well. The problem is he played 22 games last year. And then Kochetkov played 47 games, and he was supposed to be the answer. He has not been the answer so far. He's 26 years old, still young enough to kind of get his stuff together. But the one thing, so they end up like picking up Brandon Bussi, who played in the AHL, played 33 games in the AHL. Again, goaltending is the hugest issue. And I think one of the things that you're looking at is 2 teams that are looking to fill the goaltending spots you're looking at like the Flyers try to do it. They got Dan Vladar in free agency. You have the Edmonton Oilers and who still need it. They said they were confident in Stuart Skinner and Calvin McCarr, but I doubt it. And again, Carolina Hurricanes, if you're trying to be a Stanley Cup contender, not just a playoff team, not just a good playoff team, a Stanley Cup contender, you need to fix that goaltending. And so I'm really curious on what's going to happen with that. And I don't know which goalies are available really, because Red Wings traded for Gibson. He was like the best goalie that was available. I'm really curious on that. Let me know what your thoughts are as well. But I have the Hurricanes finishing first in the Metro Division this year. Last year they finished second to the Capitals, but I have them finishing first. And I think the additions of K'Andre Miller and Nikolai Ehlers, especially with some of the crazy drama when it comes to the Mikko Rantanen stuff, I think that the fact that it's got ironed out is going to be a lot better. You have your guys. And again, you have these assets you can flip to really make a powerful push. And the thing is, I think Carolina's going to make that powerful push. I think they got to make moves this year with how injured the Florida Panthers are. You need to capitalize on the fact that they're having an off year, right? The Washington Capitals are still very good. They won the division last year. But again, Devils consistently hurt. They're healthy now, but we'll see, right? And then again, I think this division is not that strong, right? You have Flyers. I mean, you'll hear my rankings, but to me, I just don't know if I think that this is the year the Carolina Hurricanes need to push. If it's honestly, it's conference finals or bust. You need to make the conference finals. I just think it's an absolute, and they really should push for that Stanley Cup. I think it's Carolina's year. I think this would have a really, really good shot. So let me know what your thoughts are. So moving on to the next team is Columbus Blue Jackets. Again, we're going alphabetical, so don't hate me, Washington Capitals. I swear I'm just doing this as like hey, trying to be fair to everybody, And by the way, next year I'll go backwards. I'll go Z to A instead. So Columbus Blue Jackets. Some of the trades that they ended up making last year, that let's see how they impacted him and everything. Nothing too crazy. You're looking at like Daniil Tarasov was traded to the Florida Panthers. He had no contract. It was basically his rights, so he signed there. They got a 5th round pick out of there. The one that I thought was interesting, and more of a bummer. Like I really like Gavin Brindley. He played with the U of M. He played with Adam Fantilli. I love that they got drafted to the same team. But they ended up trading Gavin Brindley, a 3rd and a 2nd round pick, for Charlie Coyle as a centerman and Miles Wood. And so that was an interesting trade in this case because, I like Gavin Brindley. I think Brindley, he's 20 years old, but he's tiny. He's like 5'9". So it's kind of one of those ones where you're like, oh, like is he going to be good in the actual NHL? But I think Columbus is trying to get better now, right? So they trade for Charlie Coyle at 35 points in 83 games. This guy's played 900 games in the NHL, 950. He'll actually hit 1,000 this year if he plays 50 games. I think it's a good centerman you have. Again, he'll fill in really well. Miles Wood only had 8 points in 36 games last year. He's probably one of the worst contracts. I really don't care for this trade. I think you're more so. I think you gave up a second. I gave up a second just for Charlie Coyle, but then you got to give Gavin Brindley as well and a 3rd round pick, and then you have to take on Miles Wood. I just don't know if I agree with that. With Miles Wood's contract, he's got 3 years left on this deal at $2.5 million. We will see. But again, one of the things with Columbus is that it's supposedly it's a great town, and I've been there. But it's a great town. I actually saw a game there last week, and so. And the thing is that when guys are there and they'll enjoy it, right? But the hard part is getting guys there and staying there. And so I think that there's the appeal of Miles Wood is that he has 3 years left on his contract, and if you can turn him into a serviceable guy, awesome. That's kind of what you want on your team, I guess, for Columbus. I guess hopefully it works out for them. So, one thing that the Columbus Blue Jackets have is great youth. They have phenomenal youth. You have Voronkov had 47 points, 73 games. Great. Love to see that. Sean Monahan's great leadership taking over for the center position. 57 points in 54 games, point per game player. Injuries, for a ton of injuries, but you definitely want to see this guy. You can definitely see him as a leader and thrive on this team. He signed a 5-year contract, so you'd love to see that for him. Kirill Marchenko, 74 points in 79 games. Great. Awesome. Cole Sillinger is really starting to break out. He's only 22 years old, 33 points, 66 games. Awesome. Boone Jenner suffered from injuries, only played 26 games last year, but still produces 19 points in 26 games. Adam Fantilli, they have him on the wing in here, but I think he has to pan out as a center. A 3rd overall pick. He's only 21 years old, but he had 54 points in 82 games. Again, big Adam Fantilli fan. I think he's great. He's going to get a huge contract, in my opinion. They need to sign him for 8 years. And the nice thing is he was fired up to get drafted by Columbus. He actually didn't want to go to Anaheim, which he was projected to go 2nd overall, which was Anaheim 6th. They ended up going with Leo Carlson. But again, Adam Fantilli was pumped to go to Columbus, and I'm happy that he wanted to be there. So hopefully he signs an 8-year contract there. Ken Johnson's looking phenomenal as well, 23 years old. Again, the youth is so good. 57 points in 68 games. Love that for him. He's on a bridge deal. Again, you pick up Charlie Coyle as your 3rd line centerman. And so again, Matthew Olivier, one of the toughest guys in the NHL, Igor Chinnikov, who requested a trade, by the way. And I understand because he's on the bottom line and I think he wants more opportunity. So I can understand why he wants to get traded. But again, Columbus has talked about this. We're not going to just trade you just because we want to get something for you. So, and then you have Miles Wood and Isaac Lundstrom. And of course, you have your Norris caliber defenseman, which is why I'm pretty high I'm higher on the Capital or the Blue Jackets than I think most people are. 82 points in 81 games, phenomenal. Dante Fabro, 26 points in 68 games last year. He was a waiver pickup from last year. The Nashville Predators waived him. Columbus Blue Jackets picked him up, and he signs a 4-year deal at $4.1 million. So he wants to stick around. They're going to have him until his 31-year season. And I love that. Again, if you get guys to stick around, I think it's huge in these smaller markets. We're seeing that with Carolina. They're really creating a system where people want to come there. Again, Keandre Miller signing 8 years. Nikolai Ehlers signing for 6 years, right? Stegeman signing for 8 years. Again, that's the type of culture that Columbus have to build. And I think with Don Waddell leaving Columbus or Carolina for Columbus, I think that'll be huge to help him build the culture around these guys because they have a great young core and they can build a great team around them. So again, you have Ivan Provorov signs a 7-year deal, $8.5 million with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He just extends there. 33 points in 82 games. Severson is on that 8-year contract, 25 points, 70 games. Fine. Denton Mateychuk, 21 years old, super young. I think he's going to pan out to be a really good defenseman. I think he's going to end up. I mean, it's interesting because when you have an offensive defenseman in Ivan Provorov and Zach Werenski, you kind of think about Denton Mateychuk. How is he going to pan out? What's he going to pan into? Right. If you look at this guy's stats from when he was playing in the AHL, 25 points in 27 games. Yeah, this guy needs to be your PP2, right? He needs to be your guy that takes over the position, and I think he can. I think he absolutely can. So I'm curious. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, on what will happen there. But I think, I mean, you trade Ivan Provorov, but they ended up keeping him. So, I mean, you want Denton Mateychuk to work out. I think you want him to thrive in that role as a power play 2 specialist. I mean, we'll see. I mean, really curious on that. So, of course, you had Elvis Merzlikins and Jet Greaves. And to me, it's interesting. Elvis Merzlikins did request a trade. And Don Watsell straight up told him, he told him in an interview too. In the interview, he's like, listen, I understand you want to get traded, but there's 31 other teams that don't want your contract. And it's $5.4 million for this year and next year. So he's like, I understand you want to get traded. He's like, I'm not going to trade you because I literally can't. I can't give you away. So not that if they want to give him away, he would waive him, but that's not how that works. They don't want to give him away. They want to get something for him. But he had over 3 goals against average, which is not good. He had under 900 save percentage, which is not good. And really the thing is nipping at his heels, you have a phenomenal young goaltender, Jet Greaves. He only played 11 games last year, 7 wins, 2 losses, 2 overtime losses. But he was under a 2 goals against average of 1.91 and a save percentage of 938. If he had that throughout the whole year, he would win the Vezina, which is the MVP for the goalies. To me, I think he's the future. And to me, it could be that Jet Greaves takes half the games from Elvis Merzlikins. This is absolutely a possibility. He's only 24 years old. And I think he could just steal games. So I actually got to see him last week play against the Washington Capitals. So again, there's a ton of really good young players coming up. I mean, their pipeline's really good, as well as if they end up moving off of Merzlikins, they also have Ivan Fedotov, who they traded from for the Philadelphia Flyers. He didn't have a good year at the Flyers, but again, he is someone that they can bring up as a third option. So I'm curious on how that'll work out. Plus, think about this. They have guys like Caden Lindstrom still coming up, right? That's a huge. They have Jackson Smith is a phenomenal defenseman. So they have a ton of young guys. Again, they picked a goalie in the first round as well, 20th overall. So they're building for the future. I think they have a great setup. I'm really excited for the future. For this year, they finished 4th, or last year they finished 4th in division. I actually have them finishing 4th again. I just don't know. I think they're good enough. I think they're going to be in the hunt. They were in the hunt last year. Devils had 91 points. Columbus Blue Jackets at 89. I believe the Calgary Flames had 89 points as well. So and so did the St. Louis Blues. It's like, depending on who's in your division or who's in your conference, like it can be close, but you lose out. So in last year, like Canadians and Canadians had 91 points and Canadians had 91 points and Blue Jackets at 89, right? So you can see how close it is in that wild card spot. They were 1 win away from being tied with them and everything. And actually, if the Blue Jackets had won one more game, they would have had more regulation wins than the Montreal Canadiens and would have been in the playoffs. Take 1 loss, make it a regulation win, and that's how you get there. So they're so close. I still think they're going to be competing for that wild card spot. So I got them in 4th. Moving on to the next team, alphabetical. We are going with I can't see alphabetical. Anyways, we're going with the New Jersey Devils. So New Jersey Devils, talking about them, the biggest acquisition is injuries, right? The injuries are the hugest thing for them. They need to stay out healthy. So any guys they're going to get from injury is the crucial one, right? One thing they had last year was Dougie Hamilton. He was off for a long time, right? So if we're looking at some of their guys right now, by the way, they have a negative cap space right now. So that's to figure that stuff out right now, at least according to Puckpedia. I'm sure there's a little bit of they need to clean that up a little bit, but Jack Hughes only played 62 games. He missed 20 games there, right? You have, where is he? Jonas Siegenthaler only played 55 games. Dougie Hamilton only played 64 games, right? Like these guys are missing time and they need to be on the ice, guys. You need to be able to have these guys in the lineup because again, you could have the best lineup. Like look at the Buffalo Sabres. They have one of the best, highest talents. But if your guys aren't here playing, well or they're not playing, the best ability is availability. So with the Devils, that is crucial for them. We're going to go back to their trade deadline of last year of anything big. They were part of the Trent Frederick trade. They're just kind of like hey, they picked him up, no big deal. And Dumoulin, they didn't re-sign him. They picked up Cody Glass and moved out a couple of young guys and a third round pick. So Cody Glass will be on the starting lineup as well. Again, no big trades. I mean, they traded out Eric Halla for a prospect and a fourth round pick, so nothing crazy there. So overall trades weren't a huge factor in this case. Again, let's go over some of the guys on their team where I'm kind of projecting them. Similar to the Carolina Hurricanes, I've seen some guys that played, they get points throughout the lineup. You don't have just like a bottom of the lineup who doesn't perform. And so looking at this, you had Evgeny Dadonov played last year with the Dallas Stars. They get him for 1 year contract, 80 games last year. He had 40 points at the Dallas Stars. Like that's a good little pickup and everything's there. Jack Hughes, of course, 70 points in 62 games. When he's healthy, he's phenomenal. I can see him being a 100-point guy. He's had 99 points and set the record as highest points for a New Jersey Devil. Again, he has to be available. Jesper Bratt, one of the craziest picks. He's like a fifth-round pick. 88 points in 81 games, phenomenal. And he's on a great contract too for $7.8 million. Awesome there. Timo Meier, you want to see more out of him. 53 points in 80 games is not enough for a guy making $8.8 million. So you want to squeeze more out of that guy. Nico Hischier, one of the best two-way defensemen two-way centers in the league. He's always top 5 in Selke voting. 69 points, 75 games, phenomenal. Dawson Mercer, you need more out of this kid. He's going to turn 24 in about a month. 36 points in 82 games. You want this guy to hit because I think he's a good bet. I think he's underrated in my opinion. But I think he's part of that young core. He's coming up with he's similar age to Jack Hughes, as Jesper Bratt, as Nico Hischier. You want those guys to come together and thrive together. And so he has to start producing if he wants to stick around this team. He's on a bridge deal right now. So he's got this year, next year. So he really has to prove himself to make sure that they want to keep him and he can make that big payday and everything. So again, I picked up Cody Glass as the center, point every 3 games, nothing too crazy there. Andre Palat is argued as being one of the worst contracts in the league. If you talk to Devils fans, they do not like that contract. So I wonder if they end up moving off of him if possible, try and shore up that third line. Connor Brown was an offseason signing. They signed him to a 4-year deal at $3 million a piece. I think that's kind of crazy. He had 30 points in 82 games, but he's playing with like the Oilers, right? I just don't think it's too much and too long for a guy who just honestly wasn't that huge of an asset when it came to the playoffs. And that is the Devils' goal is playoffs, by the way. So Paul Cotter, 22.79 games, played really well, 6'2". I mean, he's a tough guy, tough kid. I'd like to see more out of him. And then you have a couple of young guys join the crew. At Boston University, it's Shane LaChance. He was part of the trade with the Trent Frederick. They wanted to get him. I believe his dad is a scout for the Devils, I'm pretty sure. So 30 points in 40 games with Boston University. That's very good in the NCAA. Again, he's only 22 years old as well. So, and Arseny Gritskov, he played for SKA St. Petersburg, 44 points in 49 games in the KHL. Again, he is almost a point per game in the KHL. I cannot state this enough. If you're a point per game in the KHL, you are a god. So hopefully this kid moves up. I think this is where you end up moving Connor Brown down. And again, if the kid's playing well enough, you may knock Dawson Mercer down as well. Again, it's about Dawson Mercer really showing up and shining. So going on to Dougie Hamilton, who played super well, 40 points, even with the limited amount of time he played. It's phenomenal. Jonas Siegenthaler, great defensive defenseman. Love to see that. He's a great pickup for a 4th-round pick, by the way. Luke Hughes just signed this huge contract, 7 years at $9 million a piece. He had 44 points, 31 games, really 44 points in 71 games. Really stepped up for the Devils when Dougie Hamilton was out. Kind of started to get a lot of those points from the power play and everything. So it's good to see that in him. We have Brendan Dillon. Simon Nemec, we really want to see him break into the roster, really solidify his spot. There's a lot of contention with him. He wanted to get traded. He was like 2nd or 3rd overall pick. And I think he just wants some playing time and wants a fair shot at all this. But they're kind of getting, when you have like a Siegenthaler, Hamilton, Hughes, Pesce, like when you have at least a Hughes and a Dougie Hamilton, you're like, okay, where is my power play spot? And that's where I think Dougie Hamilton could be moved. The only issue is that see, he's making $9 million. He's 32 years old. You're kind of like, man, I kind of like to move him. The issue is, if you look at this year, he has a modified no trade or a no move clause and a modified no trade clause, and it is a 10-team trade list. So he can only be traded to 10 teams. So it just shows you how limited it is. And so if they want to trade him, it's gonna be a little more difficult. So you have to consider that when they're trying to trade him, is that, hey, are you able to get anything for him and from him? And so it's just something to consider when you're trying to think. Everyone's like, oh man, just trade Dougie Hamilton. It's like, it doesn't work that way. These guys have contracts for a reason. And so going on, again, good defense core, some of the best, I think. And you go into the goaltending. Goaltending was good. Well, it wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good, honestly. A pretty good tandem, older tandem, right? When you look at 2 35-year-olds and Jake Allen and Markstrom, both around 2.5, 2.6 goals against average, and both above a 900 save percentage. So they were good. They were solid, right? Not a strength, but not a weakness. So they were for sure like a middle of the pack, maybe a little above middle of the pack when it came to goaltending. So again, team needs to stay healthy. They need it, and they need to continue to produce. They're still so young. But I think they have a good shot. I think they have a higher upside than some other teams. For me, they finished third in the league last year, 91 points. Like I said, they were just behind they were just ahead of the Blue Jackets. But to me, that they are third again. I have them going third again. My apologies if you can hear my cat. He wants attention. So, and he is locked in the room. But the Devils are third, and so I have them finishing third again, like they did last year. I think they're better than the Blue Jackets because I think, while the Devils have young talent, they're a little more proven talent than the Jackets. I think the Jackets have some good pieces, but I think Devils just a little bit better, especially when it comes to that goaltending and everything. So I know, Jackets have like Werenski and everything, but to me, like having goaltending just helps so much more when it comes to their games and everything. So Devils are third in my book. Going to the fourth team again, we're going alphabetical. The New York Islanders. A lot of people were really surprised with, hey, they got the first overall pick. Good for them. Annoyed, but good for them. They were doing some of the big trades, and this is one of my favorite trades of last trade deadline, in my opinion. They stole this. They just stole it to me. They did such a good job. What they ended up doing is, so they ended up trading out, where is he? Brock Nelson. So they traded a 33-year-old expiring Brock Nelson, who, I mean, he was fine. Like, he did well. But if you look at last year with the Islanders, like 43 points, 61 games, like, yeah, he's a center. And mind you, when he produced pretty similar numbers when he got to Colorado, and Colorado ended up signing him. They signed him for 3 years at $7.5 million, a 33-year-old center. I disagree with that. And they ended up getting, like I said, a prospect in William DeFore. So who did the Islanders get back? They got a first-round draft pick, a third-round draft pick, Oliver Shillington, but he did not work out. And they ended up trading Callum Ritchie as well. Now, Callum Ritchie was a monster. This kid, I think he was a first-round draft pick in 2027. So you get a first-round pick plus a first-round prospect for these guys. And with the Oshawa Generals, as an 18-year-old, he had 80 points in 50 games. Then as a 19-year-old, he had 70 points in 47 games. So he's still producing at a very similar level. He actually had more penalty minutes as well as a 19-year-old. But this kid can absolutely produce. Even in his first year as a 17-year-old with the Oshawa Generals, point per game, 59 points. Again, this guy's been killing it. He's been just putting up so many points. I think this is a great piece for them to add to their prospect pool, because the Islanders had one of the worst prospect pools in the league. So they get a center in Callum Ritchie, again, with a first-round pick. You're like, oh, man, that's like a good rebuild piece, right? And then you do a couple other pieces. You also trade out Noah Dobson, who you weren't going to re-sign. You end up trading him for 2 first-round picks and Emil Heineman. Like, holy smokes. So you're telling me in a couple months you got 3 first-round draft picks? Holy smokes. Plus you have your own. And again, they picked so many guys. Again, their pick ended up going to Matthew Schaefer, right? They ended up getting William Eklund, Kashawn Aitchison as well. I believe that's and I'll have to look up the draft class, but they did a phenomenal job. They really restocked it, right? You're getting a number one defenseman in Matthew Schaefer. You're getting a great offensive center in Kashan Aitchison. And then you're also getting a is he a defenseman? No, Kashan Aitchison. I think he is a. Let's find out. Maybe he's a defenseman. No, he's a defenseman. I apologize. He's a defenseman. He had 59 points, 64 games in the OHL. But you also get Eklund. Where are you at? Where are you at? Victor Eklund. There you go. Victor Eklund, who had 31 points in 41 games in the Allsvenskan, which is the SHL, Sweden Hockey League. It's the one league below. So again, I think these are great. I think they did a great job restocking the cupboards. And so when you look at some of these deals, they end up signing Jonathan Drouin, who had 37 points in 43 games with the Colorado Avalanche. Didn't play a ton of games, but had production when he did, which is you like to see. You have Horvat, 57 points in 81 games, fine. Emil Heineman, like fine. Like Anders Lee had 54 points, but he's old. Again, this team is old, and they needed to get younger. I mean, their average age is, if I could see it, I think it was something great. It was like way like late 20s. You have like guys like Palmieri's 34 and Anders Lee is 35. Like Horvat's even 30 right now. Like JG Pajot is 33. Like Casey Cizikas is 34. Like these guys are just starting to get older and older and older. Scott Mayfield's 33. Again, which is why it's so important for the young kids to come up and everything. And so, it's so important to restock the cupboard as well. So again, I think these guys aren't producing or anything, but it's just important for them to continue to produce and get younger because they are going through this rebuild. They're selling pieces. They sold Brock Nelson. They sold, Noah Dobson. So it was, like I said, it was great. It's great to see. So, but again, you get some of these pieces that are coming up and everything. And so like they signed Maxime Shavanov, who had 67 points in 65 games in the KHL. He's just a 1-year deal. He's 5'8", but he's 25 years old. Like it's an easy free agent. Again, I think they're going to selling more pieces. I think you're going to see potentially an Anders Lee trade. I think you might see a JG Pajot trade as well. I think they're just going to see so many more trades. They also got Maxine Tipslikov. Holy smokes, these guys are just like killing it in the free agency. Good for them, dude. I mean, again, Islanders are starting to restock and everything. So it was really smart of them to do. Like they got 2 Russians. Like these guys are producing in the KHL. So good on them. You also have on defense, you go Alexander Romanov and Tony DeAngelo. They're fine. Pollock and Pelech, again, 20 points, fine. Matthew Schaefer in the OHL, by the way, he played for this Erie Otters, who McDavid played for. He missed a ton of time with injury, but in those 17 games that he played, he had 22 points as a defenseman. Left-handed defenseman, but still a defenseman. So that's why he went number 1 overall this past year in 2025. So just recently turned 18, by the way, as well. The one saving grace, I think, is they have Ilya Sorokin, who played 61 games last year. And again, he can kind of keep them in the fight. And so I think, again, you have all these young players. I think they're going to be good in the next couple of years. It's going to take a little bit, but you can bring some of these guys in. I think it's really exciting to see. Like, I mean, these guys can start to play well. But again, I think they're in a weird limbo spot, right? When you have really old players, you have some young players that are coming up, but I think you saw where they're trying to stand, right? They hit the lottery when it came to the draft, but to me, they sold last year, and they didn't really get too much better. I mean, you sign like a guy like, you bring back a Tony DeAngelo, you bring in a Matthew Schaefer, like you get a couple of like free agents and everything. You get like a Jonathan Drouin, but again, to me, these aren't like huge moves. They're just kind of like keeping the team afloat. And so I think, in my opinion, the Islanders finished 6th last year. I think they dropped down to 7th. I think that there is one other team that is rebuilding harder than the Islanders. I think the Islanders they need to rebuild for another year or two. They did really well with the lottery pick, but I think that it's unfortunate. But like guys like Bo Horvat, they kind of just need to ride it out, right? Like some of these older guys, like Matt Barzal, unfortunately, he's kind of ride it out. He missed a ton of time last year, only played 30 games. But you just continue to sell off good pieces and start just getting better and better. And that's okay. Like, you need to go through these rebuilds. I mean, these guys went to the conference finals a couple of years ago, and it's kind of been just a slow drip because they got older and older and older. And so I just want to see these guys. I want the Islanders to progress. You don't want them to be the little brothers of the New York Rangers because they're always going to be, but you want them to actually be good. And this is a good start by the way they drafted so well this past year. So again, they finished 6th last year. I have them finishing 7th. So we're going to take a quick break here from DraftKings and everything. And so we'll jump into that real quick, and then we'll hit up the New York Rangers next. So stay tuned. Listen, I know this is a mostly Red Wings podcast. It's honestly, it's an NHL podcast, and the preseason has started. But again, we haven't got to bet on any games yet. And you know what? The season has been starting, has been going for 4 or 5 weeks at this point. It's the NFL season. And for me, when you're talking about touchdowns, for me, my favorite touchdown is the next one, because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in, from first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props, or the thrill of live in-game betting. Every snap is loaded with opportunity. Here's the best part. You bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. And if you're looking for a team to bet on, Detroit Lions, I'm telling you, they're a team. They're the good team. And so for them, go check them out. They're plus 700 through DraftKings to win the Super Bowl. Again, this is not advice, but I'm saying if you're going to bet on the Super Bowl, go Detroit Lions. Come on, Jared Goff, let's go. And again, so if you need a product like this, it's what I'd use. Your team hitting pay dirt pays out to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Blue Hill Casino and Resort. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to win award. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. And we are back, and we are talking about the New York Rangers. So they made some big trades, and this is one of the things that we talked about with them. A lot of people are higher on the New York Rangers, and I am not. I'm still not. I just don't necessarily believe in them. I know they got a new coach in Mike Sullivan, but to me, I'm just not a huge fan. Are you a Nicky fan? But to me, like, you look at some of the way they turned over their roster. I mean, considering last year, they traded Jacob Trouba in a cap dump, right? They just moved off him. They moved out Capo Caco. That experiment didn't work, right? And Will Borgens has, thankfully, and they signed him to a deal. But that was a weird one, right? They pick up JT Miller, and so you're like, okay, that's a good pickup, right? And they get him for a first-round pick and a couple pieces. They trade Ryan Lindgren out, pick up Juuso Parsons, a second and a fourth, and then they also move out Riley Smith, right? They give back a third. So you're trade, and then they pick up Carson Soucy, extend him. Then they trade Eric Branson, who they got in a deal for Vancouver, trade him out as well. And then you trade out this. By the way, this is all like in the last year, all these trades. Then you cap dump Chris Kreider for a third-round pick. And then you also trade out Keandre Miller for a first-round pick and a second-round pick, and Scott Morrow. Like, the turnover in this team is crazy. It's so you're completely changing over. I mean, these guys, they're just bouncing around. And so you're like, you have some guys that can perform, but it's just so much commotion and so much happening that I think it's going to be detrimental to the team. And you end up making JT Miller the captain, who I think is a smart idea in the sense of he's kind of to me, he's a Tortorella, where by the way, JT Miller was drafted. He was drafted by either the Lightning, or he was drafted by the Steve Yzerman and traded to the New York Rangers. No other way around. He was drafted by the Rangers and then traded to the Lightning, because I remember that Steve Yzerman is the one that traded for him. So that's crazy, by the way. It's crazy to see that all these things. It's so fun. I love trade. I love this all. Welcome to hockey. I'm a fan, man. I'm an undrafted hockey fan. And so looking at the top line, of course, you have Panarin, 89 points. Trocheck, they have Trocheck as the number one center. It'll be JT Miller. He had 70 points. And then Lafreniere starting to break out. Again, he's 24 years old. He had 45 points in 82 games. You want to see more out of him. Will Cooley, also 45 points in 82 games. Again, you want to see more out of him. He was part of the trade for the JT Miller trade. And so, no, he's right. He was a young draftee. He was young. He was a second round pick for the draft. I was thinking of the other guy who went back to Vancouver. And then you have Zibanejad, guy making $8.5 million a year. He had 62 points. You want to see more out of him. And that's a good top six. And then your bottom six is you're kind of like, you got Taylor Radish. You got a guy who played in the NCAA last year who's 22 years old. You have Connor Sherry, who only played 5 games with the Lightning. Like, you have Adam Enstrom. Like, your bottom six is not good. Again, you have Matt Rempe, which is cool. Like, you got a guy that can fight, but like the bottom six is bad. So I imagine they're just the top six are just gonna be like merchants on the of the power play. So, and they are. I'm literally looking at the time on ice, and they are power play merchants. So it is, which isn't a bad thing. Power play points still count, but it's a little bit concerning when you go to there. So, mind you, they also trade out Keandre Miller, get those assets back, and they sign Vladislav Gavrikov in the offseason. He signed him to a 7x7 deal. He had 30 points in 82 games. Good player, eats a ton of minutes. I prefer Keandre Miller. A little bit younger and everything. Gabrikov's going to turn 30 about a month, so now you have him for 7 years. I'm like, that's the greatest thing in the world. Adam Fox had 61 points, 74 games. People talk so much shit about Adam Fox. I think that's still pretty good. I mean, that's still a pretty good season. I think they want more out of him defensively, but he's a great player and everything. So, you have Carson Soucy, cool. Like Will Borgen's cool. Like, they're not putting up a ton of points. I mean, you have Braden Schneider. 21 points in 80 games. Mind you, he's like 24, so he's still young. With Eero Vakanainen, and that was the trade in the Anaheim. I'm not impressed. Like, you have 2 good defensemen, and you have 2 lines that are pretty good. You have 5 out of 6 guys are pretty good on. And I'd argue Lafreniere isn't a top line guy. He's maybe a top 6 guy, but not a top line guy. So, but the X factor here for the New York Rangers is Igor Shesterkin. When he's on, he's absolutely on. Even on this garbage team where they made all those trades and everything last year, he played 64 games and a 905 save percentage. It still stayed under 3 goals against. So, to me, he is an X factor. He is the thing that can keep them from tanking. And they're trying to do this on the fly, which is why they did so many trades. I think they may need to do a couple more trades. Like, maybe you find a way, you move off of Mika Zibanejad and try and get another asset there. I just don't know what the direction of the New York Rangers is. They're trying to tear it down while also having good pieces. And so you're also trading out your good pieces like Kako. And so I don't know, but like, to me, the Rangers finished 5th last year. Boring as it is, I haven't finishing 5th again because the bottom teams are not good enough. And the top and the middle, the top teams are just either too good or like on a similar badness. To me, like Columbus and Rangers in the similar tier. I actually like, if Jack Greaves ends up being a really good goalie for the Columbus Blue Jackets, I absolutely see the Jackets, and I have them. I have Jackets being 4th, Rangers being 5th, and I have them both missing the playoffs. I just think Columbus has a better shot of actually like being better. And again, Rangers literally live and die by Shesterkin. So we will see. Again, I'm 5th, and so we will see how they do. So moving on to the next team, the Philadelphia Flyers, alphabetical order. They got a decent amount of cap space too. So I mean, good for them. They have like 6.6 cap space. One thing they did is they tried to address goaltending, and so what they did is they traded out Fedotov, who was supposed to be the savior of all, and ended up signing Dan Vladar, which is fine. It's fine, right? And so I'm like, great, cool. There's some trades that I did really like that they did. Last season, I thought they did some really creative ones. And so you're looking at like they moved off of Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost, both guys that were just like they weren't working out with the organization. They pick up Peltier, they let him walk, and they picked up Kuzmenko with a 2nd and a 7th. They end up taking Kuzmenko and trading him for a third. Awesome. So they picked up an asset and they flipped him again. You end up trading. This is the cool, good guy move. They traded Eric Johnson over to the Colorado Avalanche so that he can contend for a cup again. I love that for him. They also trade out Scott Laughton, and they get a first-round pick in Nikita Kurbankin. Big fan of that move. Scott Laughton, again, he's 30 years old. You're trying to get younger. If people want to trade you a first-round pick for it, absolutely, completely do that. It's 2027 from Toronto, but it's still a valuable pick in that case. So they also trade out Ryan Poehling, a second and a fourth, and you get Trevor Zegras. I thought that was a really good move. I think that when they traded Jamie Drysdale away from Trevor Zegras, I thought that was a bad move for Jamie Drysdale. I think you end up getting a worse player because he wasn't attached to Zegras at the hip, because you know how good of buddies they are and everything. I think by picking up Trevor Zegras, I think both have an opportunity to thrive on a team where they can be happy together. And so it'll be interesting to see how they thrive together. I think that was a smart, relatively cheap move. And Ryan Poehling wasn't nothing, but to me, I think Trevor Zegras has a little better upside and it helps with that center depth for them and everything. Actually, by the way, side note, they also they used 2 first-round picks to move up in the draft, which is kind of crazy. And they ended up picking, I forget who, but that shows you how aggressive they're trying to be in this rebuild and trying to really get better. Again, they move out Fedotov. They move out the Ryan Ellis contract to the Sharks. Get a couple pieces. Artem Guriev and Carl Grunstrom, basically AHL guys. But yeah, I think this team, again, they're a rebuilding team. They're still rebuilding. They moved, and you can tell because they traded and got first-round picks for their guys. Like, you don't get first-round picks for guys that aren't good. Now they're also trying to get better by picking up like a Zegras. That kind of helps shore up some of their center depth when they move down off of Morgan Frost. Maybe look at this team, like their highest point getter was Travis Konecny, 76 points in 82 games. Phenomenal. I love to see that from him. They also signed like Christian Dvorak for a year, 33 points in 82 games. You have Sean Couturier has 45 points. You know, he's monster. You know, he's a good center. A little bit older at this point, but a good center still. Matvei Michkov, 63 points in 80 games. Good on him. You know, that was a good rookie year for him. Owen Tippett had 43 points in 77 games. Again, you're getting Zegras, who down year only played 57 games, had 33 points. No, he didn't have an injury, did he? No, because he would have been traded. So it's probably recording incorrectly. No, he just missed a ton of time. Oh, he just missed a ton of time with the Ducks. So he only had 32. He had 32 points, 57 games. So you're putting up, it's like a 60-point pace ish, right? So yeah, that's a good pickup. Again, they're gonna have to sign him to a deal. Hopefully, he wants to stay because his boy Jamie Drysdale. They're both RFAs. No. Oh man, they're both restricted free agents. That means hopefully they both decide to sign. Hopefully they do this on the same day, like Parise and Suter in Minneapolis. I love that. Or same with like Scheifele and Winnipeg and Hellebuyck up in Winnipeg. That'd be adorable for them. That'd be so cute for them. I love that. I love that for them. Then you have like your depth. I like this third line a lot. They have really good production. 41 points for Bobby Brink, 37 points for Noah Cates, and 43 points for Tyson Forrester. That's a lot better than I thought. There's an argument that the third line for the Flyers is better than the Rangers. I would actually say it is. I absolutely say it is. Top 6, different story, right? Top 6 is definitely going to be the ones getting on the power play and everything, so you have to consider that. But this is a great third line. Not a bad first and second as well. Like, I'm not too mad about that. So your fourth line, Delorier and Hathaway and Abels. So and talking about the defense core. Defense core is fine. It's nothing to write home about. In my opinion, Travis Sanheim, 30 points there, 82 games. You also pick up Noah Juleson, like you have like Nick Seeler and Jamie Drysdale both had 20 points. But I think you're going to see an uptick in Jamie Drysdale again because his boy Trevor Zegras is there, man. And then Igor Zamula had 15 points, 63 games. Again, a defense core that needs a ton of work. And how are their drafting? I mean, they have like they don't Helga Grans, like, that's fine. They don't have a great defense. Maybe they're gonna need some help in defense for sure. Well, hopefully they get a little bit of help there. That's going to be a tough look on them. So something they definitely have to improve on in that case. Oh, they have Oliver Bonk, and so that's something to consider. Oh, Ristolainen and Cam York. So yeah, they're pretty injured right now when it comes to their defense core. So hopefully that improves. I still am not very high on them. I think they're definitely going to improve this year. They finished 8th last year, and to me, I think there's two teams that are trying to tank more than the Flyers, and that is the Islanders and the Penguins. Flyers finished 8th last year. I have them finishing 6th. I think they made some improvements. They tried to get better. And I just don't. I think that the goaltending is going to be tough, right? You have Samuel Ersson and Dan Vladar, who they picked up in the offseason, who had, they didn't really solve goaltending in this case. Both are still under 900 from last year. But I think they can split the net. Hopefully they can finally solidify that goaltending and really find a guy who can take over the net. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. I mean, I'm curious. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Philadelphia Flyers. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a team is the only team. So we talked about this before. It's been mentioned before that this past offseason, 31 teams tried to get better, and only one team tried to get worse, and that is the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is sacrilegious when you have a guy like Sidney Crosby on your team. Like, you need to be trying to get better every year. I don't care. Or pick a direction, or just get rid of Sidney Crosby. I know he doesn't want to leave. But to me, I think that the fact that it's just a tough look, honestly. But to me, I liked a lot of the moves and we have to really go back. I'm actually going to go to like the start of the season because there's some guys that are still making an impact here. Like in November, they traded a 4th-round pick for Philip Tomasino. Great, he's going to be playing. He'll be playing this year as well on the team. If you look at where Tomasino, I think he's going to play on the second line. Maybe he's not playing first line, is he? Where they got him on Puckpedia? Tomasino. Oh, they have him on the third line, so it's fine. He's a 1-year deal, 24 points in 61 games. I mean, not too bad. You have like Joseph Olivia. Joseph, goodness gracious, how do I say that? Pierre Olivia Joseph, right? They traded for him, picked him up and everything so that he could play with his brother. They ended up not signing him again, so that's fine there. They also traded out Marcus Pettersson. They got a 1st-round pick, Danton Heinen, Vincent Lecavalier, not Lecavalier, that'd be wild. Descharnay. Again, they also traded out Drew O'Connor as well, so they got that 1st-round pick They got the pick from the Vancouver Canucks, which is originally a Rangers. Again, traded for Desharnais, who's going to be on the team this year. They also traded out Michael Bunting, and they got Luke Shen and Tommy Novak, which I thought was a smart move when you have Tommy Novak, because I think he's a good producer, 22 points, 54 games. It's a guy you might be able to flip and retain. I think that's a good move. Solid piece. And then they also traded out Bolivier, who extended in Washington. They got a 2nd-round pick for him. Phenomenal. Then they traded for Luke Shen from the Nashville Predators, and then took Luke Shen and traded him for a 2nd and a 4th-round pick to the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, good flip. So in that trade for Michael Bunting, you got Tommy Novak plus a 2nd and a 4th-round pick. So that is a good move, Kyle Dubas. Good on you. They also move out Cody Glass, pick up a couple of AHL guys in the 3rd-round pick. They also pick up Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins. So again, just guys that are expiring. Again, for a 5th-round pick, good pieces that they can flip later. And they end up taking the Connor Timmins and flipping him for Connor Clifton and a 2nd-round pick. So good on them picking up a 2nd-round pick again. Dude, 2nd-round picks, people scoff at them. Those are good picks. You think you're talking about a guy who is one of the 64th best players in his draft? Like, he could be the 33rd best player. He could be the 64th best player. Like, these are guys that make real impacts. Like Tyler Bertuzzi was a 2nd-round pick. Like, these guys can be really good. I think Pasternak was not a 1st-round pick. But Philip Hronek was the 1st-round pick as well, or 2nd-round pick as well. So there's guys you can get in the 2nd round that are good and worth it. Absolutely. They trade out Nedeljkovic as well. They send him to the Sharks. They trade for Arthur Seeloff as well. So again, this is a group of guys for sure. Absolutely. So when you're looking at the team, though, you got to consider what they're trying to do. And they're trying to get younger, trying to get much younger. So you have like Ville Koivunen. He's a young guy. He came over from, I believe, Carolina. He was a Carolina pickup. Yeah, he was part of the Jake Gensel trade. And you have Sidney Crosby, 91 points, of course, monster. Raquel had 70 points last year. Evgeny Malkin had 50 points, 68 games, phenomenal. They signed Anthony Mantha to a deal. He was hurt all last year, so he's basically on a 1-year prove-it deal. Pick up Brazeau as well. You get Tommy Novak, like I said. Ben Kindle, who's they haven't played in third line. And in WHL, he had 99 points, 65 games. It's a really good setup right there. Again, you have Tomasito, 24 points, 61 games. And then again, some guys in the bottom line. And your defense, of course, you have the monster Erik Karlsson, 63 points in 82 games. Only making $10 million because Sharks are trading $1.5 million. But you got him for this year, next year. Like, man, you usually want to do something with him. And then you have Chris Letang, of course, 30 points, 74 games. Other guys, just more defensive liabilities at this point. So, and then of course you have Tristan Jarry and Arthur Seeloff. Not amazing NHL numbers. Arthur Seeloff did win the Calder Cup in the AHL. So, and then Vancouver immediately trades him. So, hopefully he ends up getting a real shot at this and maybe steal some games from Tristan Jarry. So we will see on that all that goes. To me, the Penguins are, again, the only team that was intentionally trying to be worse. And to me, they finished 7th last year, just barely, because the Flyers had 76 points and the Penguins had 80 points. I have them in 8th. And I hate to say that, but I think it needs to be said. By the way, Brian Russell also had 65 points last year in 71 games. Of course, phenomenal. He's injured right now. So I think they need to start trading guys again. And I think Sidney Crosby's talked about, potentially being traded. He's thrown it out there. It's not a guarantee, but I think he does get traded eventually. I think imagine what that would do for the league. Do you imagine they say, hey, if you take Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, let's do this. Do something crazy. Okay, so who has the assets? I'm going to use it's also a playoff team. What if, because that Colorado already gutted their team. I think Montreal is too far away. They're not willing to give up they are willing to pay assets, but I don't think they're ready. They're not close enough. Even if you add Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. I think a team like Carolina, who needs some more center depth. Kotkaniemi is not really it in the second line center. But to me, if you can get so let's say you do Sidney Crosby, getting Malkin, and then who's their Carolina's third line center or first line center? Sebastian Aho. So let's say you have Sebastian Aho, Sidney Crosby, or vice versa, whatever that looks like, right? And then you have Evgeny Malkin on your third line. And then you move Jordan Staal over to your, move him over, holy smokes, that'd be so good. And you trade out the 2 first-round picks that you got for Dallas. From Dallas for that. Oh, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. This is not going to go viral because we're 58 minutes in, but that is a good trade. I'm big fan of that. So, and lastly, we were talking about the Washington Capitals, a team that really didn't do much when it came to trades or signings. They didn't do nothing too crazy, which is surprising because you think with the team, they did really well last year. So you think they would want to capitalize on the success and everything and try and do a little bit better. They picked up Lars Eller. They picked up Lars Eller. Did he end up resigning? Let's find out. Well, again, one guy they got was Anthony Beauvillier. That was one guy they definitely picked up for a second-round pick. I thought it was a little expensive for Anthony Beauvillier. But when you think about a guy who wanted to stay and signed a 2-year deal at $2.75 million, he had 25 points in 81 games. It's fine, right? They didn't end up keeping Lars Eller. And then you talk about, nothing really crazy. Actually, they really didn't do anything. To be honest, they kept a lot of the guys. I think the things they're looking for is for young guys to start taking a real step. You're looking at a Connor McMichael. You're looking at a Alexei Protas. You're looking at a Ryan Leonard as well. These are some of the guys you're looking to really solidify themselves. So going through it, Alex Ovechkin, 70 points in 65 games, phenomenal. Dylan Strome, point per game in 82 games. Alexei Protas, 66 points in 76 games. By the way, they also have his brother, which is crazy to me. And they also have Cole Hudson, Lane's brother. These guys are going to be phenomenal. They're retooling really well. It's really impressive. So Connor McMichael, 57 points in 82 games. Pierre-Luc Dubois, 66 points. Tom Wilson, 65 points. Great top six right there. And then your young third line that you're starting to collect. I mean, Anthony Beauvillier being the older guy, right? You get Ryan Leonard, only played 9 games. Not a great regular season, but could prove himself. He's one of the highest rated prospects out there right now. You have Hendrix Lapierre, only played 27 games, but you're expecting big things out of him. And then you kind of shore up with a couple guys in the bottom six, Nick Dowd, Brian Duhaime, nothing too crazy there. This is a really good defense core, in my opinion. So you're looking at Ferravari, had 25 points in 81 games. John Carlson still playing excellent at 35 and a half years old. 51 points in 79 games. Like Jacob Chikrin, 47 points in 74 games. Like still, signed that big. He's in the first year of that big deal, $9 million per year for 8 years. Trevor Van Riemsdyk, and then Rasmus Sandin as well. One of the things that was, crucial to their success for the Washington Capitals was Logan Thompson's phenomenal numbers. Put up great numbers this past year. He's in the first year of a 6-year deal, so hopefully he can keep that up. But that is one of the key things of him is staying on top of that, because you saw there was a dip in Charlie Lindgren's play. And so you want to make sure that he is also staying sharp as well. Drop below the 900 save percentage, and you do not want to see that. So again, you have also Matt Roy out as well for he's in the press box. He should move Declan out and put Matt Roy there. This is Puckpedia has wrong in this case, but either way, they have Ivan Miroshchenko coming up as well. Like you have Ethan Frank, you have Andrew Cristal, who looks so good. He had 170 points in 57 games in the WHL. This guy's gonna be great. Again, Ilya Protas, who put up 124 points in 61 games in the OHL. Their pipeline is so good. I'm so jealous that they're doing so well in the regular season and have one of the best prospect pools out there as well. So huge fan of them. And looking at Cole Hudson with BU, he had 48 points, 39 games as a defenseman. God, this team's gonna be so good for so long, and I still think they're gonna be really good. I don't know if they're gonna be first. I actually don't have them first. They finished first last year with 111 points. They had 12 more points than Carolina Hurricanes. I have the Capitals finishing. I have them finishing first in the division. And so I'd be really curious what's going to end up happening with this. I think they're going to finish second. They finished first last year. I think they finished second. I think Carolina did a little better, right? They traded for Miller. They pick up Ehlers. So to me, I have the Washington Capitals finishing second. So let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe. Really appreciate you stopping by, and I'll see you next one. Love you.